What's going on, guys? So we are going to hit the road in this 2023 Rock Creek Edition Nissan Pathfinder with a 3.5 liter V6. We're going to see what this thing's all about on and off-road. Hang tight, I'll be right back. This is going to be the first time we're able to take it out to the beach so you can see how this thing performs. Now, I know that's not going to be rock crawling, it's not going to be crazy off-road intensive usage of this vehicle, but I don't think people would typically use this for any of that stuff. I think what most people would probably use something like this for is maybe hauling a small camper out to an area that typically, you know, cars don't travel to and spending time with your family. And that's really a great use case for this type of SUV because family is the key word here. You can seat up to 8 people if you get this thing equipped with a bench seat, but in the bucket seat configuration, it seats 7. 3 in the third row, 2 in the second row, and 2 here up front. Anyways, we are going to head out to Padre Island, spend some time out on the sand, and see how this thing performs in sand. And it hasn't rained in a while, so the sand is probably pretty loose. Alright, so before we get to the beach, I wanted to talk a little bit about driving impressions in this Nissan Pathfinder. I know there's a lot of folks out there who, you know, are looking for a third row SUV to haul the whole family around, while at the same time giving you the capability of going to some areas that a traditional SUV or passenger car just can't get to because they either sit too low or they're not really designed for it. And I think Nissan put together a really attractive package with the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder's always been a very popular third row SUV. But what they've done here with this SUV, at least, is they've given you a little bit more ground clearance, a much more aggressive off-road all-terrain tire, as well as different driving modes that are really suited towards this really dialed-in, custom-tuned suspension and traveling off-road. And we're going to be able to test some of that out. But what I can tell you so far about on-road dynamics is it feels a little less plush than I would have expected from a Nissan Pathfinder. It has a bit of a firmer ride to it. It's not bad. It feels actually very similar to the Ford Explorer that we had for a short period of time. The difference here is that this is front-wheel drive and the Explorer is rear-wheel drive. So a lot of differences in terms of how it actually feels whenever you're steering or maneuvering. This one definitely feels a bit looser and a bit more sensitive whenever you try to make little corrections or movements with the steering wheel, whereas the Explorer definitely gave you more of that rear-wheel drive control feel. And I prefer rear-wheel drive. Pretty much all of our vehicles are rear-wheel drive, and hopping in this one definitely feels a little bit different. Now, in terms of ride comfort, it does ride smooth. It definitely feels like a mid-size SUV. It doesn't feel lightweight and kind of hollow like you get with some of the compact SUVs and crossovers like a CR-V or a Rogue or some of those. It definitely feels less bulky than like a Tahoe or a Yukon or an Expedition, but it feels substantial enough that you don't have this kind of cheap, light feel to it overall. And if you have an SUV, you probably know what I'm talking about. When you get to those really small SUVs, they tend to feel a little too small, a little too light, a little too hollowed out, and just not quite as luxurious as you might be looking for. When you get to the really large SUVs, they feel a little floaty. They feel bulky. You can feel the weight. The middleweight kind of mid-size SUVs like this one, as well as Explorers and Traverses and Acadias and things like that, they all have that kind of semi-heavy SUV feel, which I actually prefer because it gives you that mobility and that agile feeling that you're looking for in an SUV while not feeling too light or too heavy. I hope that makes sense. The ride comfort in here is pretty dang nice. Again, it leans a little bit more towards firm. That may be partially due to the suspension that they put on here and how it's dialed in. I don't actually remember how the last Pathfinder I drove rode, but I have a feeling as if it was a little bit smoother than this. But I think what most people care about with something like this, especially with the Rock Creek package, is how does it perform when you're not on a road, when you're in off-road conditions. And I would definitely say that the beach qualifies as off-road conditions, because there's no dedicated road here, and you can definitely hit some pretty aggressive terrain when you're driving on the beach, especially in rutted out areas or areas that are super soft. Okay, so this is a front-wheel drive SUV with intelligent four-wheel drive. So I am going to see how this performs. I have this guy in the Jeep up here, and we're going to do some off-roading. No, I'm kidding. But we're going to go through some terrain here that'll be kind of interesting pretty soon. We're going to see how well this does in soft sand as well as, you know, this hard packed sand. Right now, driving through hard packed sand really doesn't take any effort. It's pretty easy. It's when you get to the really soft, powdery style sand that you can determine how well the traction control and the four-wheel drive system are going to work. Here's kind of an example of some soft sand right here. And again, I'm in two-wheel drive, but it has intelligent four-wheel drive, so it'll probably kick in on me. This is definitely deep sand. Almost any type of vehicle can get out here, back up to the beach, and not have any type of a problem as long as you're careful where you go. But as you probably saw, that SUV right there wasn't backed up in an area where the sand was really deep and soft. Most people that come out here are pretty good at determining if their vehicle can make it through this type of terrain. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch this to sand mode. So to switch it to sand mode, just toggle it right there. It's now in sand mode. Cameras come on. We'll see how it does. All right. Again, I'm not driving through an area that is too soft. And you can even see this Mustang up here. They didn't back out too far where these other trucks are, because a rear-wheel drive vehicle can easily get stuck out here. So far, so good. Here's some deep stuff right here. And it's doing pretty good so far. Here's some deep ruts. That is an interesting truck and trailer to see out on the beach. But they actually do these horse riding tours out here. So they probably just wrapped up with that. So far, no problem at all. And I have not aired the tires down. And these ruts right here, these dunes, are pretty soft. It's easy to slide around on here. Here's some bigger ones over here. More big ones. Again, handle it with no problem. You definitely feel when the tires are getting bogged down in sand. It's a very different feeling than riding on anything else. Then you get to this hard pack stuff. Again, as long as cars kind of stay to the left here, or at least on this section right here, just about any type of vehicle can get through here. It's just when you either get closer to the water between where the waves come up on shore, basically where this area is way off here to the right past where the RV is parked. That is a very daring group of people, though, to take a Class A diesel pusher and a fifth wheel out here. Interesting. And we'll get to an area over here pretty soon that is a bit more difficult to traverse. Okay, so this is definitely softer sand. The key with sand is not slowing down. Maintain your speed. But even if I did slow down, I probably wouldn't have too much of an issue with this to pull myself out. Very soft stuff over here. This is incredibly deep. I'm actually giving it quite a bit of throttle, going about 20 miles an hour. If I drive closer to the water, it'll definitely be a lot easier. So if I want to basically get through here without any problem, I'll just get a little closer to the water. But this is very deep sand. You can probably tell. Nice and quiet engine too. If I were in the Explorer doing this, man, you would hear that 4-cylinder just whining up. This has a really, really nice muted tone to it overall. And it's doing really well out here. I see my traction control light coming on here occasionally. So if you want to see how these vans get out here, you just drive way down here, like that. And again, you can pretty much take any vehicle you want out here and drive on this stuff. But once you get up here in the sand, that's where a Jeep like that comes in handy, or an SUV like this. Matter of fact, let's turn around and follow the Jeep and see what route he takes. So way up there, there's actually a Jeep that is stuck with the back tires. He just put it in 4-wheel drive, and all he was trying to do was get moving. Kind of gives you an idea how rough it can be out here if you don't have a 4-wheel drive vehicle and you try to go through the soft stuff. Okay, so I decided to hop outside of this 2023 Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition. This is a really, really good looking SUV. So many things done right. I think the only critique I have from the exterior is these openings right here feel like they should have had fog lights there as opposed to the small fog lights right here, or fog lights right in the center, or LED lights, or just something to make them stand out and not look so kind of blended in. But check out those Toyo tires, open country AT tires. I love the opposing colors, the white metallic with the top upper black portion and the rack on top. I mean, this thing just looks like a seriously capable SUV. And who would have thought this is a family hauler? I mean, this is a derivative of probably one of the most popular, third row SUVs that you can buy. V6 definitely feels like it's got the power to do everything you want to do. And one way you can definitely tell is when you get into this soft sand, you can see how power feels when you're trying to apply it. And this stuff is super thick. Very, very easy to get stuck. Very, very easy to get bogged down. I gotta tell you though, this thing is super fun to drive. Again, the only thing that feels a little bit different about it to me is the fact that it is a front wheel drive with intelligent all-wheel drive. Very cool. Now you may have noticed there's a little piece of trim missing right here. Don't know what could have happened there. It was delivered to me that way, and when I contacted them, they said, yeah, the I guess it came off during some type of a review by some journalist, but it's cosmetic and I'm not sure what could have happened. Probably something hit it. Beautiful, beautiful SUV. Let's take another look at the inside if you missed the first video. First of all, cargo capacity on this, 1,148 pounds. The sun's to my back, so pardon any shadows. Got your 360-degree camera. Got your display up front. Drive mode's down here. Got the center row folded down and the third row folded up. Nice Rock Creek badging here. Also on the console there, as well as on your all-weather floor mats. Got your orange trimming going throughout as well. And looking at it from the back, you got your 2-inch receiver back here. This thing is capable of towing 6,000 pounds, which is not an insignificant amount of weight. 4-wheel drive, 7-way connector right there. Doesn't appear to have a 4-way connector on it. This is one gorgeous looking SUV. I love the color scheme. That's really what makes it stand out and pop. And I know a lot of folks know what that's kind of made to emulate in terms of other SUVs, but what do you guys think of this thing? Anyways, we're gonna get in and head back. Okay, so final impressions on this 2023 Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition. You know, I like it for a lot of reasons, and there's a few things that I don't necessarily care for, but they're kind of insignificant. You know, when it comes to off-road capability, it's hard to compare this against some other types of off-road vehicles because, again, this is a family hauler with an appearance package that gives it some specially tuned shocks, a slight lift, aggressive tires, and some other really cool features that do good off-road. But again, I can't necessarily say this is like a true off-road vehicle because it's designed to be able to carry a family where they want to go, when they want to go there, without going over, you know, crazy extreme terrain. That said, it performed really, really well out on the sand, and I can honestly tell you it's performed better than some other trucks and other vehicles that are designed specifically for off-road use. So, you know, that was kind of cool. Overall, though, you know, I give this thing a pretty high scores in terms of off-road prowess for what it's designed for. Now, I'm not going to take this thing, you know, rock crawling or doing anything overly extreme because, again, that's not what it's designed for. This is designed to be a family vehicle with off-road capability, and I think they check that box. In terms of ride comfort, the seats are extremely comfortable. I have nothing bad to say about the seats. They're superior in terms of overall comfort versus the Denali that we have and even versus the Ford Explorer that we had, and they're kind of on par with the seats in the F450. They cradle you well, they feel nice and wide, they have really good support, the lumbar is good, especially with the 10-way power seat up here and the 2-way lumbar adjustment. It's just a really comfortable seat. Ride overall, you know, I have to say it's probably a little firmer than I would prefer. A lot of times when you get an off-road package, it actually softens the suspension up quite a bit because you want that articulation and movement. In this vehicle, it feels like it leans more towards a sporty type ride versus an off-road ride. And it's not a bad thing. And again, I can't necessarily say how it compares to the non-Rock Creek version of the Pathfinder because I don't honestly remember. The tires that are on here, the open country tires, are relatively soft tires. They're designed to be able to articulate over rocks, bumps, things like that. So I don't really think it's the tires. But overall, the ride, I'm going to give it like a B+ in terms of comfort. Seats, I'm going to give like an A-. Acceleration, you know, it's good. It's not bad at all. It actually has a good amount of get up and go. No problem overtaking other vehicles. No problem accelerating onto on-ramps. Just overall, it's a good powertrain for this size of vehicle. And if I floor it, you can definitely hear it and you can feel it. But again, because it's front-wheel drive, you definitely feel it kind of, you know, steering you a little bit, pulling you with the front wheels versus pushing you with the back wheels. But yeah, it's a cool vehicle for sure. I think that the improvements they've made in terms of the interior, the improvements in terms of the exterior, the look, the seats, the fact that you can seat 3 people in the third row are all really great things that will make this a very, very good choice for folks looking for a larger mid-size SUV that can seat the whole family. Anyways, guys, we are heading back. I sure hope you enjoyed the review of this 2023 Nissan Pathfinder with the Rock Creek package. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.